Hello, sweet people. I want to talk to you about authenticity today and how you daring to meet yourself deeply and connect to your true essence. And hear me out. I know everybody on the internet is speaking about this, and maybe you're rolling your eyes, maybe you're a little bit annoyed to hear about that, but I want to go real deep with you so you understand why being your true, authentic self, living from your essence, is exactly the thing that will create a beautiful life for yourself, that will make you shine and really get to all the things that, are fulfilling. And why do I know that? Because I've seen this in my life. I've seen this in my clients' lives. I've seen this in my friends. I've seen this in people that I admire, in artists and musicians, in philosophers and people who speak. Anybody who I feel connected to, or feel they are living in a way that is vibrant and alive, they are all fully who they are, and they also find their connections in life, may it be work-wise, may it be romantic relationships, friendships, any imaginable relationship, and also your purpose, as in maybe what you want to bring forth in the world, how you want to generate abundance. All that is a result of you integrating your story, integrating your wounds, integrating the parts of you that you're at war with, and the times of your life that you don't want to replay, as well as your gifts, the qualities you haven't acknowledged yet, that you may feel even a little shame around, that the parts of you feel guilty about. When you look into all these little corners of your being and you learn to process the emotions connected to them, and I'm speaking here from the parts of you that you feel like you need to hide, you need to reject, the parts of you that you feel are a little in, how can I best say that, in like an ego space, and nothing against the ego, but where you're not being in your authenticity, where you may be moving from bypassing, or where you may be moving from a reactivity. Yeah, so if you hear somebody in the background, that's the doggy. So yeah, it's really about meeting yourself deeply, and that will never be replaced by I have a better body, I have beautiful makeup, I have beautiful clothes, I have that super duper job, I have that partner that looks like whatever or does this and that. No, this is really an inside job. And most people are afraid to meet themselves because, honestly, I don't know why, but, I've been always somebody who has, once I understood that there is this world that I can discover that is not outside of me, but here inside of me, I felt like, whoa, that is so incredible. And I just wanted to learn more and more about it, and I didn't feel any fear. Yeah, sometimes maybe fear may come up, but my curiosity was always bigger to understand what I don't know yet about myself, to discover. Because the things that you may be afraid of meeting inside of you, at the end of the day, it's just feelings. And we are all so afraid to feel. Now imagine, this is not even something that you can touch. You can touch it, you can touch it emotionally, right? Spiritually, mentally. But an emotion, usually when you feel it, it takes a few seconds to feel it. Yeah, and so what we need to do is expand our capacity to process, or let's say to meet, feel and process pain, Pain can be, emotional pain, wounding from past experiences that you've pushed away in some way. It can be shame, it can be guilt, it can be fear. All that goes as pain. And usually our automated modus is to, pain comes in and we numb ourselves with drugs, alcohol, anything you can imagine, food, shopping, whatever it is. Or we suppress it and we just ignore it, act like it's not there. And that may work for a while, but at some point, if not, you explode in a way emotionally. You may feel symptoms coming through your body, through disease, inflammation, reactions, allergies. Yeah, so we always think like, I don't have to deal with that. And yes, you don't have to if this is not your path. Do whatever feels right for you. You do you. But I'm just here to educate and to share with you that there's a different way available that doesn't leave you feeling like you spent all your energy on holding back, on avoiding what you're not willing to face. And sometimes we don't realize that takes a lot of energy, and that opening, so to say, the floodgates to what you've been holding back on. And that too gets to be a journey, right? It gets to be a process. Sometimes I have clients and they say, oh, I'm not ready to open that box yet. But then we work on different themes, and then over time it feels natural to open that box, because your body trains in processing emotions and meeting yourself. So your body also learns that it's safe to feel. It's safe to be seen. It's safe to be held even, in your emotionality, in your stories, because often we don't speak up, we don't share, we don't dare to even touch that topic, or even, be honest to ourselves around it, because we fear, or we feel like it's not safe, because maybe nobody has shown you before that, your emotions, it's okay to feel them. It's safe to feel them. Maybe there was nobody there when you were growing up that was emotionally attuned to your needs, who said, oh, come here, cry yourself out, or, allowed you to feel that anger, allowed you to feel whatever it was you needed to process, or reassured you, that it's okay. If you didn't have that emotional mirror or that emotional support, because it takes an adult, a mature adult, to support a child and let them have their emotional experience without judging them, without, giving them the feeling that this is too much or that this is not appropriate. And I'm always in favor of not blaming others, because they also haven't learned that. If we go back in time, that wasn't something that was taught to anybody, right? Like, we're right in the middle of this, these teachings becoming more mainstream, which I'm really happy about. But back then, that wasn't a given, right? So people try to solve things the way that they could. And sometimes we interpreted this as, oh, I wasn't loved, or I wasn't supported. And sometimes we don't even know that we have this limiting belief inside of us. So that's why it's so powerful to do that inner child work, to do that work with your nervous system, where you retrain your system to feel safe in expressing yourself, feel safe in exploring what you like, who do you want to be, what feels good, without always looking for confirmation on the outside. Can you learn to look for confirmation on the inside and begin to really trust yourself more, your intuition, your sense of what feels true? And all that is a journey. And I tell you, now you see me talking on YouTube, feeling secure in myself, and doing what I do, being who I am, but it wasn't always like that. Yeah, like when I look back at when I was a teenager, I never felt safe in myself. I always wanted to be a musician, but for me, that wasn't even an option in my head, being an artist or being even a creative. I didn't identify myself as that. And I think I've always, felt connected to working with people in some way, but I didn't have anybody who was like observing me and, nourishing my talents, my skills in the way that would have been supportive. And that's okay. But I still made my way here, right? And maybe that was what I needed. And I think there are also a lot of people out there, maybe you're watching right now, who feel like, yes, but my way was so much harder. You know what? Like, everybody's going through something hard, and it's not about measuring against each other and comparing whose path is harder than the other. It's not going to get you to anything that you want and will make you truly happy. So if you feel like you carry a lot of resentment and anger and fear and this sense of nobody wants me, I am my authentic self, all that stuff, look inside. Notice how you're talking about the world. Yeah, how you perceive the world, because the way that we see the world, this is how the world is happening around us. And when you change your focus point, from something negative to something, I choose to focus on something positive, and I'm not saying bypassing. I'm just saying, what would happen out of curiosity if I changed my focal point? If I didn't believe I'm not enough, or if I didn't believe the world is against me, or if I didn't believe it's too late, or if I didn't believe I'm too much, or I'm not wanted, what if I find evidence for the opposite? Because I'm telling you something. Your RAS, your reticular activating system, is a part of your brain that's constantly sourcing and scanning your environment to find evidence for the beliefs that you have to be true, in order to keep your identity validated and alive. So when your RAS does not find the evidence for your beliefs, and I'm talking right now about your limiting beliefs, those that are not nourishing and supportive for your being, if it doesn't find it, it will create situations that will reinforce the belief so that it's in sync with your identity. So that means you may self-sabotage, how it's called. It's not really self-sabotage, it's more a process of self-protection, self-preservation. You may, find situations or attract people that will help you to reinforce that narrative. And I'm saying actively here, help you, because they do, even though they create pain in your relationship, or they create a dissonance, or you're wondering, why do I always attract those people in my life? Why do I always attract those negative situations? It's in order to keep you in line with your identity. So what you got to do is start to get curious and begin to notice your patterns and see, okay, so this happened, that happened, that happened. What do they have in common? Even if it's different parts of your life. Yeah, what do these things have in common? I'm going to give you a personal example from the past. So let's say, it's a real example. So let's say somebody offered me an apartment, and they said yes, at a really great rate. And it was a great apartment, it had everything I needed. And we basically said, okay, so then and then I move in and all the things. And then suddenly they declined and they kind of disappeared. And for me, I'm in a state where I'm like, that's interesting. So I'm not anymore thinking, oh, I'm always like rejected, or I think I used to have the belief of nobody stays, or what was it? I don't even remember now, but it was something around nobody stays. I'm always rejected, or something like that. And then in another part of my life at work, I was about to start a collaboration with somebody, and suddenly they too disappeared, didn't get in touch anymore. And then there was a third thing, and it was around, I don't remember now what it was. I think a friend who just, disappeared. So in that moment, you can think, oh, what did I do wrong? People always leave. I must not be a great person. I must not be somebody people want to be with, work with, do business with, rent their apartment to, whatever. The world is against me. I could have thought all those things, but I caught myself. And I said to myself, you know what? The universe wants me to realize here, that's why this is happening, that, okay, people have their reasons. People always act out of personal reasons. And if they're not willing to explain, if they are not mature enough, but they need to ghost you, okay. Is this really about me? No. Because even if somebody wouldn't want to work with you anymore, they could be mature and tell you, hey, Vanessa, I decided for somebody else, or whatever. Mature people communicate. So you already know that maybe those were not aligned connections, aligned people for you to be with. Another example that is not personal, but that I hear again and again, is that when you start dating somebody and suddenly they ghost you, or suddenly they lose interest, and you are starting to worry. I had this with a friend recently who told me that. Worry and wonder, what should I text them? Or, I'm waiting. I really want to see them again, but they're not getting back to me. It feels like they're losing interest. Like instead of running behind people that are obviously not choosing you. Oh yeah, my belief was I wasn't chosen in those situations. I'm not chosen. So in this example with my friend who, had this dating situation and the person seemed to have lost interest, I would not feel anymore like, oh, I'm not enough, why don't they like me, whatever. No, you need to build self-respect and realize, oh, that person doesn't choose me. So I deserve to be chosen. So you need to begin to reframe. It doesn't even matter in the beginning if you already believe it, but if you start to reframe and tell yourself, whoa, they're not choosing me, so why do I invest my energy into running behind them or running after them and trying to get their attention when there may be people who actually, are interested in me and choose me? So that's an interesting thing. We often feel like we're not loved, we're not liked, we're not enough, or we're too much or whatever. But as we're focused on what we don't have and who we are not, we blindside what we do have and who we are and what we have in terms of humans who care for us. Yeah, so we don't even see that. We may even ignore or reject them on the other side of it. So notice in your life, whatever, maybe you're thinking now a little bit, okay, this could be my limiting belief. This is something I operate on based on the patterns in my life. Yeah. So notice what are the connections, and then see if you can reframe that belief into something positive and actually begin to notice, oh, for example, if you feel a lot of scarcity and you feel like there's no abundance in your life, abundance is not always money. But when you go in front of your door, do you see trees? Is there like sky? Do you have running water in your shower? Like, that may feel ridiculous to you, but you gotta go back to the basics. Is there food in your fridge? Yeah. Do you have one friend? Do you have one parent that you like? Do you have a job? Do you have, even if not your whole life feels perfect, you gotta be observant of what you already have in order to grow it. No matter if it's friendships or a romantic relationship or your work life or your purpose, when you're constantly focused on lack, you're not noticing what you have. Exactly the same with how you feel about yourself. Maybe you notice what you don't have or where you don't feel perfect. But can you notice what you're good at? Can you notice, what people call you for, or what your friends ask you for advice for, or whatever it is? Yeah. So sometimes it's really about doing the work of noticing who you actually are. What are you afraid of? Like, write all these things down. If you want, you can use my soul clarity journal. It has great questions to really crystallize where you're at right now. It's, I think, 20 euros, 22 euros. So it's a catch, and it's, there are also meditations inside. So I would really, if you want to start somewhere, you can try that. Or you can just write down in your journal, who am I? And by answering all those little questions, you will connect to your fears, your wounds, what scared you in the past. And you can also, if you don't know that, you cannot set boundaries. If you don't know that, you cannot learn, wow, I learned strength through that, or I learned this and that quality and skill through that. And this is how you also move forward on your purpose. So basically, authenticity is a process. It's not just one thing that you turn on, because there are so many people also that come to me and say, like, I just want to find my purpose. I just want my authenticity. Where can we turn on the switch? And I've been there too. When, like, what am I missing? And I also often wanted to force it until I realized, whoa, let me discover myself. Let me see, who am I? And instead of looking away, let me look very clearly at everything. And that really helped me find my path. So I've always kind of followed my intuition in a way, but I was always so focused on supporting others. So being in a job and helping their visions come to life. And I never asked myself, what is my vision? And often those visions, though, when I had any, they were sometimes driven by the wrong motivations. So to be a CEO of a company, or in order to feel power, in order to feel not helpless, because that's a consequence that would have made me feel, or that did make me feel safe, because that safety and security and predictability I did not have in childhood. So often we want something the opposite of what we had in childhood, but sometimes the motivation of getting there is not, in alignment with our heart, with our soul, with our being, with our essence, authenticity, however you want to use that or name that. Sometimes it's from the ego, or sometimes it's fear-driven. So when your motivations are fear-driven, it's not the right thing. They need to be driven from love. Yeah. So if you're fear-driven, if all you do is based on fear, then look into this and work with your fear and start accepting that it's there, and start not running, but actually turning around and looking the fear in the eye and ask the fear, whoa, who are you? What do you have to tell me? What do you need? And that is the power of meeting yourself deeply. And this is the power of getting into your authenticity. And eventually also shining your light on the world, because your authenticity is everything. And I know that may sound a little cheesy, but I really, truly, from the bottom of my heart, I mean that. And I've experienced that, and I've seen this in other people. When you are working on becoming, which you already are, but sometimes there are layers on top that prevent us from fully expressing who we are, or even knowing ourselves and being honest with who we are. When we break that barrier, and that can also be in a soft way, right? Like when we take off layer by layer in a way that our nervous system is, feels safe allowing that. Because often we want to just turn on the switch, but your nervous system is like, oh, no, being myself is dangerous. I cannot do that. Yeah, if you learned that being yourself is going to be judged, is going to have consequences, going to be punished, is going to be dangerous in some way, mentally, emotionally, maybe even physically, this is still living within you, even if you're an adult now. And this is something that can be released. And if you feel like doing that with me, then you can go in the box below and see, my one-on-one offering. If you are wanting to do that in a group, I'm starting on the 24th of July a inner child healing club. I really focused on offering it at a price that is so affordable for everybody. And it's insane, the price, actually, because it's for 3 months. So every week we're going to meet and we're going to work through different topics. And I think, doing that in a group is so powerful, because you also hear other people sharing what they're dealing with, and you suddenly feel less alone. You suddenly feel seen and heard, and like, wow, other people are going through similar stuff. And when you hear their stories, you may take something for your own healing, So I'm so excited. I've never created a more aligned offering, and it's something that helped me so much. So that's why I really want to bring it to you, because it's incredibly powerful, this work. And so for anybody out there who wants to come into your authentic self and essence, and wants to overcome the fear of being you and heal the wounds of your past, this is from my heart to yours, my offering. If you want to check it out, it's linked below. You can also pay it in installments. There's an early bird price still on until the 12th of July, which is 199 euros for 3 months, which is insane. And after that, for another 12 days, there will be the normal price of 299. You can also pay in installments. So yeah, okay, enough talking for me. When you're watching this video, and you're still watching now, I want you to know that there's more for you. And sometimes it's about just continuing on your path, even if it feels like, I don't know why I'm here. Why should I still keep on going? I've always continued, although I've been in times where I just felt like nothing makes sense. How will it ever get better? And I just kept on going, because something inside of me was like, I deserve more. I want to be happy. I want to be free. And we all deserve that, especially in the times that we're living in right now. Maybe you feel helpless with the situations that are going on in the world. And I get that. I have that sometimes too. And when I have that, I look inside. I, deal with my own triggers in my life. And that's really what helps to make the world, a softer, warmer, more loving and kind place. Because when you're becoming more in alignment with who you truly are, you will feel more fulfilled and happier in your life. So everybody you meet will benefit from that, and that will create a ripple effect. And it feels often like, who am I to create a ripple effect or a change. But you know what, like it's just like 1% change every day builds up to a huge improvement. It's the same with doing your inner work, like, and becoming 1% more yourself and daring to be who you truly are, because we need you, and that's why you're here, right? Like, you're here for a reason, and that's the work of life, to really discover yourself. And I really have this image in my head of when Michelangelo created the David. You start with a block of stone, but the figure is always already inside, so you just gotta chip away on what's not you, and that's the work. So if you want to join me for that journey, or if you have any questions, feel free to reach out. I love you. I see you next time, and you've got this.